Hold right off the bat, I got to ask you, did you see this coming?
I really did see it coming, Coop, and I know a lot of people are going to point to the 4-game losing streak as being the catalyst to this. But really, when you look at the offensive struggles early on in the year against Kent State, against Sacramento State, I think the warning signs were already there. Another thing to keep in mind is that Rob Likens was not a Herm Edwards hire. If you recall, Athletic Director Ray Anderson did not want then quarterback Manny Wilkins to have a 4th offensive coordinator in that many years because Rob Likens was already on the Todd Graham staff. He wanted a seamless transition. He basically, I would say, forced Herm Edwards to accept Rob Likens as the offensive coordinator. And I think anytime you're not the hire of the new head coach, then the leash is really that much shorter. And I think that's one reason why the decision was made today.
Let's talk about time, I guess. You say today, but why now?
I think that Herm Edwards really wanted to make a statement. It's really easy to say after a 7-5 season, okay, it's a winning season, same record as last year, everything is status quo, we can go and continue the course. But I think that's how strongly Herm Edwards felt that the offense was not going in the right direction as he wanted it to proceed. The term generational quarterback is something that all the ASU coaches to a T are describing Jayden Daniels, and they feel that with that type of signal caller, as young as he is, as high of a ceiling as he has, they feel that Rob Likens may not be the offensive coordinator that can really maximize the talent of a Jayden Daniels. That's another reason for the decision today.
Well, if you look at ASU from a points per game standpoint, they rank near the bottom of the Pac-12, I think 90 plus nationally. Herm also talked about wanting to get that number into the 30s, wanted to average more than 30 a game. What type of OC do you see him bringing in, and what would be his philosophy in your mind?
I think really the OC would just be somebody who's really creative, and again, going back to my earlier point, maximizing every ounce of talent that a quarterback like Jayden Daniels has. Forever they've been talking about incorporating the tight end in the passing game, and that was something that we heard every year. Fans have been sick of me even mentioning it as a goal of the Arizona State offense, and they thought that, okay, if we get a different offensive coordinator in place, that's another aspect we can finally tap into. I know there's some really, I would say, factors that may hurt Arizona State as far as having a young offensive line, and sure, that's something that they need to conquer also in 2020 for that matter. But I just feel that in terms of the creativity of the offense, the flow of the offense, a play, setting up a play, those are skills that Herm Edwards felt that maybe somebody like Rob Likens really did not possess. And again, here we are with that decision.
Jayden Daniels, the future of the Sun Devil offense. I know Mike Bercovici played a big role in helping him his freshman year. Does this now maybe create an opportunity for a guy like Mike Bercovici to secure a spot on staff?
Look, let's get one thing out of the way. Mike Bercovici is obviously way too young to be the offensive coordinator for the Sun Devils. However,
quarterback's coach.
Exactly.
Okay,
exactly.
We'll start there.
But as far as being a quarterback's coach and then bringing the offensive coordinator to be probably a wide receivers coach or tight ends coach, absolutely. Quarterback whisperer is not a term that I use that often, but I think Mike Bercovici definitely does fit that description. Talking to sources in the program all year long, they said that the impact that Mike Bercovici had on Jayden Daniels, there's no way really to overstate that aspect. So I can see Mike Bercovici staying with Arizona State at a different capacity as a quarterback's coach, and I think it's going to be a great opportunity for both the player and the coach.
You know, I would say that Herm has impressed most Sun Devil fans and followers with his penchant or his desire to run the football. Mm-hmm. And you talked about, you know, being more creative with a generational quarterback like Jayden Daniels. Does that mean that what Herm is looking for from a philosophical standpoint is more a guy that has more passing ideas as opposed to maybe runners? Is Herm willing to, you know, change maybe his philosophy?
I think Herm Edwards is still going to be somewhat of a run-first head coach. I think there's no doubt about that. But again, I mean, are you really going to handcuff somebody like Jayden Daniels with all his talents and be 70-80% run? I mean, that's really not feasible in my eyes. I think you still see a heavier run team in 2020, and whoever's going to be the replacement for Eno Benjamin is going to be leading the charge over there. But at the end of the day, with Jayden Daniels, you can do a lot of creative aspects in the passing game, and again, he feels that a new offensive coordinator can really tap into that, can really maximize that as much as possible. But no, I mean, I do expect Herm Edwards to still run the ball pretty often like he did in 2019 and 18.
You know, the early signing period is just a couple weeks away. Any changes like this maybe affect recruiting adversely?
We asked Herm Edwards on the conference call today, and he was very adamant, saying this is not going to affect the recruiting class one iota. He maybe took exception to the fact that maybe that people don't think he's that involved in the recruiting, and somebody like Jaden Daniels maybe came despite Herm Edwards and not because of Herm Edwards. But all jokes aside, I think when you have a charismatic head coach like Herm Edwards, that helps recruiting quite a bit. And don't forget about the whole pro model that they want to build at Arizona State. If you promote a Mike Bercovici and or promote a Derek Hagan, bring an offensive coordinator from the NFL ranks, the pro model, which has been very attractive for the last 2 recruiting classes, is still going to be there for Arizona State, maybe even in a higher caliber, if you will. Now they have an offensive coordinator, possibly from the NFL ranks, so that's going to help a lot. And I actually talked to one of the premier ASU commits, Chad Johnson Jr., yes, the son of
Ocho Cinco.
And Ocho Cinco Jr. said that basically, as long as Herm Edwards is the head coach, I'm here. And he said something, quote, crazy is coming into Arizona State in terms of an offensive coordinator. So this could be a really interesting and exciting hire.
You know, it's early, but is there any hints as to maybe a crazy name that is circulating right now?
Not so much a crazy name, but I heard the name Hugh Jackson being tossed around quite a bit. Coop is as old as me, so he knows that he was actually an assistant coach under the late Bruce Snyder's in the early 90s. So obviously ties over here to the Valley, has a house in the Valley too, has a very extensive relationship with Marv Lewis. And look, if you know Marv Lewis, then you know Herm Edwards. So that's, I'm not going to say the clubhouse leader, but if you told me that he's going to be eventually the offensive coordinator for Arizona State, I'm not going to fight you on that.
Coop, he just called you old. Do you have anything to add to that?
Hey, he told it like it is.
Before we go, I do just want to ask you one more thing. We were just talking about Eno Benjamin. Do you have a little bit of a read as to whether or not he played his last game as a Sun Devil?
Well, I'll tell you what, he had a very prophetic text to Rob Likens, which Rob Likens did reveal after the game that Eno Benjamin texted Rob Likens the morning of the Territorial Cup game and said, thank you for everything that you've done to me. Now, some people may be interpreting that now on Sunday night that maybe it was like a two-way text where maybe Eno felt that he knew Rob Likens wasn't coming back, but Rob Likens, I think, revealing that text also reveals that Eno Benjamin has most likely played his last game not only in Sun Devil Stadium but also as a Sun Devil, because I think much like N'Keal Harry did last year, he's going to forego the bowl game just to not to risk his draft stock. And how happy you have to be for Eno Benjamin. It's been a tough season for him, and to have his best game of the year against U of A. And I'm going to leave it with this comment. Eno Benjamin, and you can look it up on his Twitter feed, he said, I want to be the most hated person in Tucson. Mission accomplished after Saturday night.
No doubt. Ho, thank you for your time, my friend.
Thanks so much.
Okay.